Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new series of this game called Hacknet. You can see that I already have a game going under the name Amaloy. We can talk later about how all that happened. But we're going to start a new session here. Call it YouTube, and we will set the password also to YouTube. You know, if you guys ever log into my computer. Once created, yeah, English is fine. If you guys ever manage to log into my computer, then you can also log into this Hacknet if you like. So this game is a sort of terminal-oriented hacking simulator thing. I don't know exactly like if it's a puzzle game or a story adventure game or what. Okay, timer has expired, 14-day timer, initializing failsafe. Well, let's read this message and then we'll talk some more. Hi, this is Strange, stranger than I expected. I guess I'm supposed to write this in past tense, though I hardly feel like admitting it's over. My name is Bit, and if you're reading this, I'm already dead. So, I have played, I don't know, an hour or two of this game. I was recording it for YouTube, so you know, it was the first time I had ever played was recorded. But there were a couple of problems. One is that I was recording the sound, and it turns out that the music in this game is copyrighted, which means that like the guy who owns the copyright gets to play ads on my videos, and like I could have put up with that for the first like 4 videos, and then like after that just recorded without sound. I don't like ads on my channel, but you know, okay, it would be better than throwing away 4 videos. But also, like, the save file that I was running seems to have gotten messed up, and there's literally 0 progress left to be made. Apparently, like, if you just close the program without going through their exit menu, your save file can get to be pretty sad. So that save file is dead even if I wanted to continue. So I figured I still want to play the game. I figured I would just start over the tutorial here and record with you guys from the beginning. So, tutorial. As of right now, you are at risk. Learn as quickly as possible. Begin the tutorial sequence. Okay. By the way, when that blue thing flashed just there, very loud noise. You should be grateful that that I'm not recording the sounds. Connect to your own computer by clicking the green circle. Okay. The first thing to do on any system is scan it for adjacent nodes. This will reveal more computers. This will reveal more computers on your map that you can use. So scan the network button. And look, we discovered over here there's a thing. Great. That should be all you'll need for now. Disconnect from your... How do I do that? Oh, down here. Disconnect from your machine. Okay, we're disconnected. Now it's time to connect to another computer. Be aware that attempting to compromise the security of another's computer is illegal under the USC Act whatever. Proceed at your own risk and connect to an outside machine by clicking a blue node on the network map. So here we go. We're going to connect to whatever this thing is. It's different than it was in my last playthrough. It was called Celestial, I think. Celestial something. Now it's the Digital Consortium. Anyway, so now they've showed us we have a terminal over here on the right. This is where we're going to do actually most of the work in the game. Okay, so a computer security system and open ports can be analyzed using the probe command or nmap, which is nmap is an actual real command that would do something sort of similar to this on an actual computer. It shows you like it finds out what ports are running and like maybe tells you what's running on them. I'm not sure. What ports are being listened on, rather. Obviously, ports don't run. Okay, great. So here's all the active ports and the number of open ports required to crack this machine using port hack. This machine has no security and requires no open ports to crack. If you are prepared to, it is possible to crack this computer using the program port hack. So we'll type in port hack here, and that opens this little like hacking display over here. And then, ta-da, we have, we've taken over the system, and it says up here at the top, you are the administrator of this system. So to look, we want to scan for local nodes, like we allegedly always should. And what did we find nearby? Nothing nearby. Fine. Next, investigate the system. list the files and folders in the current directory. So you can do this by clicking around, but also this shell over here has a number of like real-ish Unix commands so that it feels vaguely familiar to run around in here. But it's also all pretty limited. There's a lot of stuff you would expect that isn't there, or things, you know, ls works, but like the command parser doesn't understand slashes. So like you can't look at if you have a file in a directory, you know, you can't look at a/b. You have to cd into a and then look at b. So like that's all rather inconvenient. Okay, so anyway, binaries folder. So we have to look into, we want to see what's in binaries. No, but fine. So ta-da, now that we're in the binaries folder, we can hit ls, and we see there's a config file, and let's look at it with cat, and it displays the contents of the config file. Great. And this is somebody's, as I recall, like their pornographic screensaver or something is roughly what this looks like a config file for. I don't know exactly, but something like that. Okay, so let's go up a directory, back to the root, and now we're being told to look at the log folder. You can delete all files in this directory. You can delete files with rm, just like in a real computer, and you can delete them one at a time, or you can just use star to mean everything, and it all gets deleted, so now there's no record of us being on the system. Great. And so then we can use DC to disconnect. Congratulations, you have completed the guided section of the tutorial. To finish it, locate the process ID of this tutorial program and kill it. And so they recommend we read the help to see how we might figure out how to do that. And it turns out there's a thing called PS, which lists running programs. And like, look at this, there's only one, and its PID is 214. So we'll kill 214, and that closed the thing over here that was the tutorial. So this area here, this tray, is all of our currently running programs on our original host computer. A lot of stuff that in real life you would imagine, like I connect to a remote computer and run stuff from there. A lot of stuff in this game conceptually is always run from your own computer, and it just like then tunnels over SSH to do whatever. Like, it's not exactly clearly explained, but anyway, we have an email. So this server here is the email server that we subscribe to. So here's another email from Bit. Hi, I don't know you, and I'm sad to say that I never will, but if you're reading this, it means you might be the only person that can make things right. Right now I'm trapped. There's no way out and not enough time, and I need your help. But there's something you need to take care of first. The faster, the better. Hacknet OS wasn't meant to be released as it is now. After a while, an automated tracker will activate itself. We can't let that happen. Connect to your own node. It should be green on your map. Then find and delete securitytracer.exe. When you're done, just reply to this email. And he's included a Hacknet navigation guide, but there's nothing very interesting in there, right? Use the display module. Yeah, okay. Nothing interesting there. All right, so let's make sure we're on our own machine. So we could, for example, say ls now, but we're on the mail file system, not on our own, and we don't have permission to look at most of this stuff. And even if we could, it wouldn't be very useful to us. But rather, we need to cd into probably like home. No, it's probably in bin, right? And there's security tracker, so let's just remove that. Tracer. Great. Now we could delete the logs if we wanted, but this is my own machine. I'm not too worried about logs appearing on it, right? So let's go check, reply to this email saying, yep, I did it. Here you go. And we got a response back. Getting your tools together. Great, that should keep you safe for now, at least from your own computer. Before we start, you're going to need a few things. Port hack alone just isn't going to cut it on most modern computers you'll find, not ones with anything worth looking at anyway. You should start by checking up on a friend of mine. He goes by Viper. Awful, I know, but honestly, he's not the brightest crayon in the box, but he always seems to get a hold of useful code. You should have no trouble getting into his files. Finding something useful might be a bit more of a challenge. You can, for the most part, ignore the generic files, stuff that gets logged or saved by a program, IRC logs, and the like. Custom-named things like exe files are what you want to look out for. Download any files you can using the command scp. Again, a program we would really use to download things on a real computer, although we would use it somewhat differently. Good luck. Reply again when you're done. And so he's given us a link to a node, which is Viper's battle station, and a Hacknet quick reference sheet, which just reminds us that we have probe or nmap, and we have porthack, and we have scan to look for nearby nodes. We can remove files, and we can copy files. So I knew all that. We'll just delete it. So notably, one thing that I did in the first playthrough is I spent a lot of time, we'll nmap to see how this machine looks. Okay, he has no protective stuff, so we'll just porthack him. I spent a fair amount of time reading through like just random files littered all over the place, IRC logs and so on, and they're actually kind of amusing. The writing for this game is pretty good. But as I'm sort of rushing through this tutorial to get you guys up to speed with what I already went through in the last tutorial I recorded for you guys but couldn't upload, I'm probably going to skip most of that. Okay, so anyway, we're on his battle station, and we want to check out his bin folder and see what he's got. And what he has is this folder called SSH, this program called SSH crack. So we're going to use SCP to download it to our own computer. Great. And if we wanted to, we could look at his home directory and look at some of the notes that he's left himself. So, we could read youtubers.txt. Seems appropriate, as we are on YouTube. And it's got a list of, like, YouTubers to check out. At least 2 of these I know, and one of them I didn't know until I went looking to see if there were any Hacknet YouTube playthroughs. So Captain Spinifex, I should say, I guess, for example, has what seemed like the most popular. Anyway, it was pretty close to being the top link for like Hacknet YouTube. So, you could check him out too. Or her. I don't know, actually. I didn't click the link, so I don't know who it is. But okay, so we don't care about all the other stuff. Like, he has some notes in here. Like, he wrote an email to his dad asking for more money to download hacking software, but he pretends that it's for school. But we are going to do the sort of hygienic thing and delete all the logs before we log out of his system. And also, we should scan. I forgot about that. I need to get the hang of remembering to scan. I forget that quite a bit, and I could be missing out on stuff. So it turns out that he has a log connected to an entropy asset cache. And in fact, one of the notes that he wrote is like, geez, I can't get into this dang asset cache. I need some way to get through their firewall. So, all right, fine. And let's go check our mail and say, yeah, great, we found this SSH cracker. And he sends us back a new one. Congratulations! I honestly have no way of knowing if you succeeded in this autoresponder, but if you're seeing this, it means you at least found something. I'm going to assume it's something really useful. You should try breaking one of my old test servers. If Viper had the sort of thing he's known for getting lying around, you should have everything you need to get in. Remember, any non-basic programs you get need a port number to run, like this. Yeah, and so you run like SSH crack, and you pass it a port number, which, so far, every server that I've ever seen has SSH running on port 22. But you can certainly imagine that they might run SSH on a different port, and then you would need to pass SSH cracker a different port. Okay, and in case you didn't know already, you can hit tab to autocomplete. Yeah, I know. Security Basics Guide. I believe I knew all this, but let's check. Use probe to see what ports are open, and use SSH crack to break in. Very good. And he's given us a link to his test server, which he requests that we break into. So we'll nmap it. And this time, so I could run porthack, but there are too few open ports. So it says here, open ports required for crack, 1. So we can't use porthack, but we could open the SSH port by using SSH crack on port 22. And that starts a little program that like tries to figure out how to break into his SSH server or something. Who knows? And when this all turns green, ta-da! We have 1 open port, and that's enough to crack in with porthack. So we just run porthack, and now we can log into the system as if the SSH stuff had never been a problem. Cool. Now I forget. What were we looking for on this system? Anything in particular? I think we were just supposed to break in, like, for practice. Oh, let's scan for nearby hosts. Nothing. All right. So one thing that is interesting is there's this Hobbs terminal guide, which has some like somewhat advanced stuff. Like here's some really basic stuff: cat, cd, ls, move. So it has replace, which is something that like a very, very primitive text editor, basically, where you can replace one string in a text file with another. Fine. And then he has also fork bomb, which is a useful panic button if you need to down a system in a hurry. You need admin rights, but you can fork bomb a system. And shell is something that turned out to be useful later. At any rate, what I would like to do is SCP this Hobbs thing to download it locally so I have access to it without needing to break into his test PC again. Just because it has some useful reminders, mostly like fork bomb, shell, and replace are things that I'm liable to forget since they're not real Unix commands like everything else here is. And the rest of the stuff here, oh, test file, was I supposed to download that? Probably. Let's download it, I don't remember. Cool, and let's go to our logs and remove them all. And check our mail. So what exactly did he want me to do? You should try breaking one of his servers. Yep. Okay, well, I'll reply and say that I did that, even though he doesn't tell me to. Great. Something in return. Here's where it's going to start getting harder. I need to ask a favor. I've been a little sloppy lately, which is what got me into this mess. That's why I'm writing this in the first place, I guess. Anyway, the point is, there's some logs on a few computers that I'd prefer weren't there. You should remember this. If you forget everything else I tell you, don't get sloppy, delete your logs. If you haven't been, start now. Everything you do on any modern operating system is tracked and logged in the log folder. Just go in there and rm star the whole thing. Never forget to. Thanks and good luck. So the request details are like, here's a reminder of how to delete things. And it's a link to someone's bedroom PC. So we're being asked to break into this and delete its logs. Now we're going to SSH crack port 22 wide open and port hack in once that's done. Got it? And now that we are done and have admin, we're going to look at his logs folder and just delete it all. Actually, there's something sort of interesting here, which is there's these files here saying access to what I remembered to look at last time, but didn't remember to look at this time before deleting. I was like, oh, there's some interesting log entries here. And there was just one saying that some unknown IP address accessed a file called valencereport.pdf and then deleted it. So that's interesting. We know what Bit was doing. He was downloading a file, a PDF named Valence Report from this computer for some reason. But he deleted it, so we can't read it ourselves. Okay. We could look at like home. Oops. Home. We could look around, but like I don't think there was anything in here really. No. Yeah, none of this was that interesting. All right, so let's just go. Disconnect. Oh, he doesn't have anything in bin, does he? No. All right, let's go. And we'll reply to our email to Bit saying, hey, we did it. I wish you could do the email stuff without the mouse. Like almost everything in this game you can do without the mouse, but in particular, they make it really hard to click on this envelope up here. And clicking on the stuff in the mail server, I don't know, it's a pain. Anyway. Okay, where to go from here? All right, if you see this, then you've done well, and well, all this might actually be worth something. Is that too much to hope for? It seems like a lot to hope for. I realize that I just don't have time to write this whole thing. There's way too much to learn, and I don't have time to do any of it. So I'm going to need to ask something more. There's a group that goes by Entropy that's currently accepting members. They'll be able to teach you more. When you're ready, I'll contact you again. As for getting into Entropy, you'll need to bypass a proxy server. A few shells, open them using the command shell, running on computers you've already got admin access to should be able to overload it. So there's this note about how proxy servers work. I thought he isn't. That's weird. Okay, so anyway, there's a thing about shells. I'll explain it to you. You don't have to read this. I thought I remembered last playthrough, this email he told me about. It's in the PS. I hadn't scrolled down. PS, I almost forgot. If you're into trouble, I've linked the Network Education Archive server too. It's got a lot of useful info on it. So, okay, we've got a new node to connect to, the Network Education Archives, and also the entropy server, or the entropy test server. So that's, to get access to the entropy hacker group, you have to break into their test server to prove you're any good. And this education server, if we were to try nmapping it, we would discover that it has a bunch of stuff that we don't know how to deal with. It has a proxy, a firewall, and the only port you can get into is a web server. There's only one port we can even see, but you need to crack 5 ports to get in. So I have literally no idea how you would get into such a thing, but I assume that eventually you can, if you want. But it has stuff you can look around and you can see. It tells you about exe files, how you run them locally, but they do stuff remotely. It tells you sort of about proxy servers and shells, and then more stuff that we don't know about yet. Although traces have come up a little. Remind me to come back here when we find out again about traces. So the idea is you can run a shell on any servers you have root on. So we couldn't run it here on Jmail, but we could on Viper's PC. And see how they're adding new running programs in our tray here? So one thing of note is that this whole tray over here represents how much memory our PC has. And so if we try to run a program that needs more space, you can't run it. You have to close other programs. So I don't want to open 8 shells. That takes up a ton of memory, and you don't really need very many. But okay, so we're running some shells locally. Why is that? Well, we'll see. So here's this entropy test server, and if we nmap it, we will see that, okay, well, it wants 1 port for crack, so we could SSH crack, but it's also running a thing called a proxy, which prevents you from breaking in with all these other things. So the way that you fix a proxy is just by overwhelming it with too much traffic, in this game anyway. And so each shell that you're running, or each computer you're running a shell on, has 2 tools, overload and trap. And trap is not something I've gotten into yet, but overload, when you click overload, it starts feeding a bunch of traffic to the proxy, which causes it to... And so 3 of them gets proxies cracked pretty quick, just for convenience. And then now that the proxy is open, we can SSH crack as usual. And then when that's done, we'll port hack our way in, and we'll have broken into Entropy's test server. Lovely. So let's look around. ls bin, is there anything good in there? Yeah, so, oh, I guess it's good, cool enough. So cat bit please read. So this server is particularly messy because the entropy guys use it as a place to be broken into on purpose, and everyone leaves a little bit of graffiti. So bit, if you're lurking, can you please come out of the shadows? I need to talk to you. Vapor won't get off my case saying something's wrong. She's sure something's going on. Let me know? Well, too late. You know what? I'll delete that file. Now everyone knows that Bit has read it, sort of, or never will. And so there's all this stuff here about 50 gold is a thing advertising gold farming in something like World of Warcraft. And here's one complaining, everyone... what is this guy complaining about? Remind me? No one ever remembers to clear out the bin folder. This is a test server, Scrubs. It's designed for people to break in. At least tidy up. So I could do that. Let's do that, actually. So I don't think I can remove whole directories. But like these are directories left around by people who were bragging about how they got into the server. All right, anything in home? Yes, entropy induction test. Congratulations, download this file to complete your test. We did it, downloaded it, okay. We could even delete it to make it hard for anyone else to join entropy. That would be rude, but we're not going to do that. And we'll just remove all the logs as well. Cool, let's go check our mail. Greetings, YouTube. Let me be the first to congratulate you on locating and passing the entropy group entrance exam. While to an experienced hacker it's a relatively trivial test, surprisingly few actually seem to manage it. Before we will be able to allow you to officially join the group, we must further confirm your abilities. A tabloid news server has recently taken a negative stance towards entropy, and we'd like to temporarily disable their operation. As a second test of your skill, we ask you to bring down this server's message board. If you can, leave the non-entropy related articles and the rest of the server intact. We do not wish to be needlessly destructive. This is not a request to simply wipe the server clean of articles. We just want that program brought down. Okay, and they've given us a link to this web server, or a news server, and it's running, it's /bot, very funny. It's got like 5 articles up. 2 of them are about entropy. This one is about like Facebook, basically. Friend hole. Anyway, about like hacking. Face space, there we go. 12,000 trusted advertising partners. Anyway, so there's 2 articles about entropy and how they're malicious. A new Microsoft phone, about as bad as you expected. Okay, so let's go ahead and break into this thing. Hello, what am I doing? Nmap. Okay, so it's got a proxy, and we're going to go ahead and just overload that. And SSH crack-in on port 22. Very good. And port crack 'em, or port hack 'em, I guess. Okay, so now we're still looking at the front page, but we have admin rights now. So we can also look around on the file system. ls bin, nothing there. But if we look around, we'll see actually there's a special folder called message board. Actually, what's in home? Anything? Nah. All right, so let's go check out the message board folder. And there's a config caution, which if we read, config.sys in this folder is a critical system file. Do not delete or rename it. Doing so will crash the board and bring the host program down. Changes to the config file should be made only during scheduled outages to avoid this issue. Okay, so this is how we're going to bring down their news server, is delete the config.sys file. But we also want to look in their listings. Hello? CD listings. I must have been just typing something wrong. And we'll remove the entropy group thing, and also remove suspicions about entropy. This is not suspicious at all. This is very targeted removal. And we will move config.sys to config.sys.owned, so that they know that we have intentionally disabled their server, but so that it's still possible for them to put the thing back together if they want. Just a demonstration of power, rather than destroying it. Now, in my last playthrough, I just destroyed it, and you could do that too. This seems a little more polite. I don't think it really matters, of course, but... and let's remove all of our logs. Oh, and let's scan this thing, huh? I always forget to do that. Yeah, there's nothing nearby. Okay. Well, there we go. And let's look real quick. How do I go up? Up, yes. Now we're on the news network, and we can go look at the news. Oh no, critical error! System files corrupted and or destroyed. Contact the administrator. So we broke their stuff just like we wanted. And let's just reply to say, yes, we did it. Welcome. Your timely execution of your first contract has proved your abilities, and I can now gladly welcome you to Entropy. As a small welcoming gift, you'll find the user details of the admin account to our asset server attached. Help yourself to any programs you might need, and view our mantra. Once you're geared up, reply to this address, and I will arrange a true test of your abilities. Again, congratulations. So we'll add this account, okay, on the Entropy asset server. And so now we can just look around. CD bin. Oh, I have to say login first. Login as admin. CD bin. Oh, let's scan from here. Anything? Nothing. All right. So what's in bin? SSH crack, which we already have, but also this FTP probe bounce that we don't have. So let's download a copy of that. And look around on home. Anything good here? The mantra. Entropy mantra. Our group is founded on 3 pillars, which we strive to follow in all things. 1, strive for justice and righteousness in all things. They love all things. That's what I think. 2, create and share more than you destroy. 3, never have an excuse not to improve. Entropy will deny contracts that go against these pillars and remove agents that violate them. Okay, so a very high-minded, lofty goal. We'll see if that's how they actually operate. But fine, so we did all that, and that means we should reply to this email, say we have it, send, welcome, excellent. I'd like to be the first to formally invite you to begin accepting Entropy contracts. Attached is the location of the group's secure contract database, along with login credentials necessary to access it. Feel free to accept and complete initial contracts at your leisure. I'll be in contact again to gauge your progress soon. Here's a link to their contract database and also a password, a username and password. They set our password to Rosebud, which is fine. My real life IT hygiene senses tingle here because in real life, if someone set a password for me, the first thing I would do is change it. Never use an account that someone else has the password to. But this game has no password changing mechanics, and I don't imagine that the computer will start taking over for me, but it's just like a bad thing to do. Oh well. Anyway, so, was that all tutorial? Was that all of the tutorial? None of that is exactly clear, but it's been a reasonable length of time. We've gotten to a good stopping point. We're now a member of Entropy, and we can start doing, real hacker for hire sorts of work. So I think it's been a pretty successful first episode, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, stay tuned. There will be at least a couple more episodes if nothing disastrous breaks again. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.